Games of the Twilight Saga, two of the biggest book series turned movie franchises ever. But the ultimate question, if the characters got into a fight, who'd win? Our Steve Patterson investigates.
The Hunger Games. It's drawn a lot of early comparisons to the Twilight Saga, but frankly, the stories are very different, with one being a vampire love affair and the other forcing kids to publicly fight to the death. But for anyone who can't quit comparing, we figure there's only one way to settle this. It's time for the Twilight Hunger Games Showdown. First up the undercard, Jacob versus Gale. Jacob started with ridiculous long hair.
Just don't get mad, kid.
That hair is impossible not to get mad at, but thankfully he lost the long locks along the way and got ripped. Like really ripped. But that also led to a bit of a temper, which is a common side effect of steroid abuse. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. On the flip side, you have Gale. He plays the steady best friend, and he's a really good listener, but that's not going to cut it when this is your competition. In fact, the most action we see from him is when he throws something. But even there, someone else is doing the shooting. Not going to cut it, Gale. Score one for Twilight. On to the next round, Edward versus Peeta. Edward sparkles. I repeat, he sparkles.
This is what I am.
So we're gonna have to mark him down for that, but to his credit, he can kill people by biting them to death, which wins him back a little street cred. On the flip side, we've got Peeta. Now, to be totally honest, he's a pretty plain guy. In fact, one of his most notable strengths in the story is that he can lift heavy things.
Peeta, you make sure to show your strength.
Admittedly, not exactly the most glamorous resume, but have we mentioned his competition Sparkles? Not even close. Peeta gets the win. Now, to the main event. Bella Swan toe-to-toe versus Katniss Everdeen. I have to admit, prior to the last Twilight installment, we would have given the win to Katniss easy, but some big things happened. First of all, Bella had a baby, which means she automatically got that crazy mom strain. If you have a mom, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And her husband knows it too. That is the look of a husband who is suddenly afraid of his wife. Oh, and did I mention she became a vampire via a vampire bite, which makes her pretty hardcore. Her competition, Katniss Everdeen, who quickly wins us over as she takes on the always sympathetic role of a martyr.
I volunteer as tribute.
And she can kick butt. Her weapon of choice, a bow and arrow. Not a gun, a bow and arrow, which is not only old school, it also makes her enemies suffer before they die, making Katniss a little bit twisted, which we respect. But it's still too close to declare a winner, so the only respectable way to break the tie is with a bonus round battle of the bad guys. The head of the Volturi, played by Michael Sheen, versus Donald Sutherland's President Snow. As the leader of the evil vampire clique, Michael Sheen looks kinda crazy. Not as crazy as he looked in Tron, mind you, but still crazy enough to lay the beat down. On the other hand, Donald Sutherland as President Snow is a snake at his core, just an evil guy, so it's still neck and neck. Someone's gotta go for broke. Boom. Donald Sutherland showing up to our interview with an eye patch in real life. How badass is that? Point for Donald Sutherland. Score the win for the Hunger Games. Turns out the odds were ever in their favor.